Hello and good day to all you data privacy minded people out there. Today we have our monthly get together for Keep Data Private. We have Marcel
Hi.
and I am Daniela. Hello. So I hope you had time to read through the article I've put up on our website about the House Committee asking for input to data privacy laws. Yes, it will be due just in a few days, so go there and have a look at how you can participate actively if you are in the US and the USFA, of course. Now, if you're not there, if you're one of the other beautiful countries in the world, there are similar initiatives. Most countries will have similar initiatives going on where you can actively participate and contribute and have your say in how data privacy should look like. For example, in the EU, European Union, there are currently a lot of conversations around similar topics and mainly focused around end-to-end encryption and whether the EU can unencrypt data that is being sent or not. Personally, I'm fully in favor of encrypting everything and not even storing data because it's none of the government's business what I send to my friends and family. Switzerland has something similar, and a lot of countries around the world have those initiatives. If you're living in a country that is differently minded, that does not involve its citizens, there may be an option to get it started. There may be possibilities to get involved. If there really isn't, maybe it's time to consider life choices and your plan for the future. But generally, if you think your data should be kept private for whatever reason, or even without a reason, simply because it is your data and it should belong to you and only you, then do get involved. Everybody has a say, everybody should be involved, and everybody should be interested.
Yeah, it's quite concerning actually if you have a look at what the EU and where the EU is going with the basically decrypting all the communications, allowing the government to be able to have access to decrypted communications between any two individuals. The exceptions, again, are government people, government staff, and the military. So it's basically just spying on your citizens and allowing themselves to keep their data private. And it's a complete reverse to where we were going just a few years ago, where data from that was being generated by the government was becoming more publicly available. So they weren't allowed to keep data private from their citizens. The data they were generating, it had to be more public, and people should be able to access the data, should be able to access the minutes of the meetings, so people can see what's going on, behind the closed doors when decisions are being made about their lives and things like that. And this is now the opposite effect, where they're saying, no, we should be able to keep our data private. You shouldn't be allowed to tell what we're doing, what we're saying, what we're talking about. But all your communications, those need to be unencrypted, and we need to be able to view everything. And it's a real turnaround to where we were going. And it's a bit concerning because a lot of the EU countries that have decided whether they want to support it or not, there's more at this point in time countries saying we want to support the decryption of the communications between our citizens, and only a few are saying that we don't support it. There's still a lot of countries that haven't decided yet, so this is a key opportunity to contact your, if you are in Europe, your European MEP, your member of your European Parliament, and tell them that this is a disaster and we do not want our communications to be decrypted, so the government can spy on us. It's a follow-on to what's happened in the UK already, which is the data age verification, which again is more about privacy or removing privacy. So you want to know exactly who you are when you go on the internet. You cannot access a website without proving who you are, which is the reality of it. It's not about how old you are. We want to know that there's actually a human being and who that human being is. And just as we've discussed last time about the data that was leaked by, I think it was last time we discussed it. Anyway, there was age verification and data that was used for a dating website, which has been leaked out into the public now. Driver's licenses and things like that. All the information that people are using to prove how old they are, right, which was supposed to be destroyed immediately after the age verification took place, has now leaked. And what we have a scenario is that every single website that has to prove the age verification now has to get a copy of your identity document to prove who you are and who prove your age, being the subtext there, but prove who you are. And we don't know what people are doing with that data. You think it's just a copy and it will be destroyed, but it's been shown that it's not. People are finding copies of these data years later, years, right? And there was anyway, your private data, right, is being kept by arbitrary websites, right, and that can be exposed. And this is another thing going on with the EU, where they say they want to be able to decrypt all your communications. Who knows what they're going to be doing with all that data that's been sent? And if you are sending private messages over your encrypted communication channel, that they can then access that information. It's exactly the type of information we don't want to get into the hands of other people. And as with all these things, who's doing the watching, who's watching the watchers, and what they're doing with that information.
And may I add that it's not only who's doing the watching right now, but when will the watcher change next time? Because whilst your government right now may be benevolent and really good to you and just having the perfect country out there, none come to mind, but maybe. Governments change, and sometimes they change quickly. And when they change quickly, that means that somebody else is going to take over and you may not like them. More importantly, if they don't like you and they have all of your data, there will be a crime that can be found in order to make sure you keep quiet. It's happened in the past. It's not out of the ordinary to see it happen again in the future. Again, I'm looking at the US at the moment. It can happen. It does happen.
Yeah, and we've mentioned this before with Canada, where they changed the law retroactively. So something that was legal in the past became illegal. And even if you did it in the past, it was still now a crime. So even though the time you committed it was not illegal, it was now considered a crime that you once did this. So.
Yes. Now, if people think, it's not that serious, it's the equivalent of saying everyone who ever drove in a car without putting the seatbelt on will now face the consequences for it. Changing laws in order to see all of your data and everything you put down as a written statement is a problem because governments change. Right now, you may have a great government. In the future, who knows who you're going to get? I mean, look at the US, for example. Look at Slovakia or Italy or Hungary. You don't know. It may be right wing, it may be left wing, it may be authoritarian. And currently, that seems to be the trend generally around the world. So, if you think something is harmless now, it may change and it may retroactively apply to whatever you do now, like in Canada. So don't be so sure that your harmless text from 15 years ago is still going to be harmless now. I, for one, know I've made flippant comments in the past in jest to people who knew how to interpret it that currently may look a little differently in the new light of day. So personally, I think I would like to keep my data private. I would like to keep my communications private, my medical records, for example, my driving license, my passport, and everything else, because it should be private. Nobody else needs to know who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
And yes, a dating app, the Bumble, I think it was. It's harmless, right? I mean, we've all been there. You've been single for a few weeks or more. You want to get out there, meet some new people, possibly even just make friends, if nothing else, or some more. And before you know it, your data is out there. And if you're my generation, you may remember Ashley Madison from memory, which was the escort website that famously blackmailed their clients in the end. Well, again, do you want your data private? Yes or no? It sometimes is as simple as that. And for me, it is relatively black and white.
Yeah. And there's some very rich people that wanting data to be kept privacy, private, and anybody who's mentioned in the Epstein files, for example.
Yes. Um, yes, we do know at least a few people who are in that list. Well, not personally, obviously. No, no.
No,
Through the
of whom?
media, through the media, it appears that some names have been made public.
Hmm.
Nothing has happened to it yet.
Still not. Yeah.
Yet. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? Personally, I'm all in favor of prosecuting crime to the fullest extent, and especially if the crime has anything to do with any kind of violence against children. It's a sore point in my worldview. If nothing else, adults can have a go at each other as much as they want, but as soon as children are involved, it should be different. It should be very, very much different. And again, this is where the problems, or some of the problems, come from. So in the EU, in order to get the data decrypted, in order for the government to have access to your data, they want to protect children. Now, as I just mentioned, I'm very much in favor of protecting children. They are our future. They'll get us out of the mess that we're in at the moment. So it's really important to make sure they have a really good start. But at the same time, I do not agree with the label and the statement that the government needs to have insight into all your data because of children,
Mm.
because of children's age or people's ages that make them either children or an adult. Because quite often in the past, that line has been used for governments to become more authoritarian and to have more insight and more say in your life.
Yep. No, it's exactly that. It's the people know that you want to stop criminals, we want to stop terrorists, we want to stop certain behavior, and that is the argument used for needing to decrypt all communications between all our citizens. And I agree. I also want the crimes to stop. I also want certain behaviors to be stopped and people to be punished in court and but I do not think that decrypting all data is going to be the way forward. It just provides too much too many places where your data can get lost, too many places where people getting caught up in a wider net and things like that, where good police work is what should be doing. And I'm not a policeman, and I know it's tough to find the evidence and find what is needed to catch and convict these people. I understand that it must be hard, but it's a similar problem that we had a few decades ago, and I know it's not talked about as much anymore, but that was DNA profiling. The fact that you could give somebody a sample of your DNA because DNA was supposed to be unique. DNA is not that unique. People, if you just take a broad swathe of people in a community to try and find a rapist because you've got a DNA sample from the victim, right? Many people are going to get caught up because they're going to come up with a DNA match. It's not that reliable. And a lot of innocent people are going to get caught up. And that is the problem. I understand we want to convict people, but it's the same argument that we use against, for example, capital punishment. You don't want to kill innocent people. You don't want to arrest innocent people. You don't want to ruin the lives of innocent people. And I think just decrypting all data and being able to capture all that, and they're going to be using AI to scan this because they're going to have a human being sitting there looking at the data. The AI is going to flag things, and you may say something. We may be saying something now on a conversation, in this room, and AI might pick it up and decide to flag it and tag us. But if we've got a private conversation going, that shouldn't be flagging things going forward. If I want to say something publicly, I'm going to stand behind it. If I want to say something privately, I don't want the rest of the world to know about it. And I think that's the key difference.
Exactly. Very much exactly.
How many innocent people have to suffer, to catch one criminal? I think none.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. And it also reminds me a little bit of the principle of the priest and the bootlegger that I've come across many years ago. That both of them want an alcohol ban on a Sunday, but for very very different reasons. And you always have to be a bit cautious on why do people want what they're suggesting,
Yeah, exactly.
and then it's worthwhile listening to the whole raft of arguments that may come forward, and really make up your own mind. That's the other thing. If you're in favor of having everything you say decrypted and out in the open, fine. But do you think about having a different government in place at the moment?
I think
Yeah.
the thing is that it needs to be a choice. If you want to publish everything that you do, then fine, publish everything that you do, right? But don't insist that everybody else also publishes everything they do
Mhm.
and say. You know,
Yes.
I think it's an individual's choice as to what they want to publish, what they want to make public. And it shouldn't be a blanket, I don't care, therefore nobody should care.
Mm. Yes, I agree. It's the age-old topic of not forcing your worldview onto other people
Mm.
and having everyone decide for themselves.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yes. So whatever happens, do get engaged, do get involved. Don't just accept what is given and handed down to you, but there are ways of making your voice heard.
Yeah, and now is the time in the EU. Now is the time to speak to your MEP. Now is the time to make your voice heard. Because if we give it a few more months and the EU changes their laws, it's not going to be easy to turn that back.
I will put a link to an automated email down in the comments below that has been set up to basically email all of our beloved MEPs in one go, or those per country. Um, and you can easily email them just with the click of a few buttons. Please do so if you think you want your data to be kept private and encrypted.
And even if you don't,
Mm.
allow other people to keep their privacy.
Yes, just in case you have children at the moment, they may be toddlers, babies, 8, 9 year olds. Um, just imagine 10, 20 years down the line when they're grown up, what kind of a world do you want for them? Do you want them to live a life where they can have peace and quiet and the privacy, or do you want them to be under the microscope all of the time? So, yes, please do sign up. What else? What else has been in the news?
There's been a few things in the news, but I think that let's keep this focused on
Hmm.
this issue at the moment for this week.
Okay.
Um, and we can bring up a few other news topics next time.
Okay. Yes, I agree. From my side of my point, that was everything on the topic of getting involved and engaged.
I think that's good.
As I said, I'll share the link that I used myself. I don't know who set it up, to be honest. I will try and find the source. I'm very grateful because it's just so easy. Just click of a few buttons, and your MEP gets emails. Do count on the fact that you will receive emails back from them. Of course, you would. So it is literally as easy as that. Click a few buttons, make your voice heard, have input into how you are being governed. That is what people talk about, what they mean when they say people power or power to the people, because that's exactly it. Just speaking up, and given how easy it is, you don't even have to leave your own house. You just do it right here in front, or you can do it from your phone, from your computer, wherever. You just click a few buttons, and your MEPs, your members of parliament, know that you don't want your data out in the open, that you want to keep the privacy.
Exactly.
And the same in the US. Do talk to your representatives. There is this initiative in the House to look for input. Go to the link on our website. Again, I'll put it down below in the comments. Tell people how you feel about things, because even politicians need input from someone. They don't have all the answers. Sometimes they don't even have the questions. So they do need us to tell them what they should represent. That's why they are our
Yes,
representatives.
exactly. Otherwise, they make up fictitious families in their own minds and
Yes,
draw their own conclusions.
yes. So yes, rather than having them come up with justifications for what they're saying, ultimately, let's tell them what we want.
Exactly.
Good. I say thanks a lot for listening
Yeah.
and watching. If you're watching, join us fourth Tuesday of the month. So next time it will be officially in autumn. Until then, enjoy your summer in the northern hemisphere or winter in the southern hemisphere, and see you then. Bye bye.
Bye.